blood creeping up from the heathens. Got
What's going on, everybody?
Got fight, got pride, got reason.
Good to be here with you today. We're going to wait till everybody kind of gets in before we get started.
Hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head.
It's Friday, everybody. It's Friday. So we need a little jam sometimes, you know?
I could take this crowd
Gotta have a
from
little
seeing
fun.
to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding from the words I spit. So sharp, so freezing.
And if you're in the chat, by the way, go ahead. You can send me questions because I'll be asking questions throughout this. Answering questions. Excuse me, I'll be answering questions. So feel free to hit me up with some questions, and I will answer said questions if I can.
Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward.
Gonna wait for everybody to get in. Apologies for being a little bit late. But such as it is, how it works sometimes in the old tech space.
Yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go,
grab something.
you know I'm gonna
Hope you're ready for a good time today. I'm excited to be here. Tell me, what are you doing this weekend? Anybody? What do you got going on? Hit me in the comments, in the chat over there. All right, and here we are. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to talk about what I believe are the 5 plans that every new youth pastor needs? And but I'm excited about it because, listen, we're getting into the fall. We're getting into fall planning and things like that. I know there's a lot of people not ready. And there's a lot of people, you know, when transition happens, usually in churches, it happens usually, summer or into the fall or things like that. And a lot of new youth pastors are getting into the game. And I want to help them. And if you're one of those new youth pastors, let me know in the comments that you are one of these new youth pastors, because I would love to be able to chat with you and answer any of your questions. So let's talk a little bit about the 5 plans here. And these are the 5 plans I think that every new youth pastor, but not only just new youth pastors, but every pastor, every youth pastor should have, not just whether you're new. You could be in this for a year or 2 years or 6 years and still not have a grasp on the planning process or having being able to put your plans into action. And that's what I want to try to help you do today. So today, let's talk about the first plan, and that is the plan to plan. How do you plan your planning? You know, listen, you can go anywhere with this that you want, okay? You can say, look, I'm going to plan by, analog, right? This is how I started. I just started with a pad and a piece of paper and said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and write down my plans. And we had computers, okay? Let's not go too far back. It's not like I had, a rock and a chisel here, okay? But you have to choose how you're going to plan. What is your process for planning? Is it analog or digital? It's probably both. Is it alone or together? It's probably both and probably should be both. Is it quarterly or yearly? How do you do that? Some people are week to week. Some people are month to month. And that's nothing wrong with that, except that you have to, I think you use quite a bit more energy in doing that rather than planning for an entire year, which does take a bit of energy. But let me tell you something. Once it's planned, right? So, if you do it quarterly is probably the best. You tell me, in the comments, how do you plan your plan, or what is your plan? Do you do a quarterly? Do you have a system for that? Do you have, is it just you and a pad of paper? Is it a group thing? I want to know all the things, man. I want to know all the things about how you're doing what you're doing. But here's what I know. Okay. What I know is that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Ben Franklin said that. old Ben, Benjamin Franklin. And, the deal is if don't have a system for planning, if we don't have a way of doing it. And the thing about, I know people buy planners all the time, except the planners don't teach you what to plan necessarily. It's just a lot of empty and blank space. And you are left to your own to to decide how you're going to do that. And so you have to be able to say, okay, what is a planner going to do for me if I don't already have some plans, or I don't feel like I have, the creativity, or I don't have the, know-how. Maybe you're a volunteer. I would love to hear if you're a volunteer. Go ahead and leave that in the chat as well, and just put a V and say, hey, I'm a volunteer. That's me. And the thing that I find out about planning is if you have a disorganized youth ministry, you have zero chance of being successful. Okay. If you are disorganized, I'm just telling you, and as one who has been there, disorganization just makes people mad at you. Okay. Students are mad at you because you can't seem to get your act together, or at least that's, that's the perception. Whether that's true or not, maybe. If you're new, probably, right? But students get mad at you. Parents are frustrated with you, and now they're mad at you. And then your pastor's frustrated with you because you can't seem to pull the things together that build this continuity in your program. And so planning is a big deal. Having your plans, right? And not just having your plans, but executing on your plans as well. But disorganization gives you zero chance. It gives you a zero. Now, look, that doesn't mean you don't have kids coming. It just means you're in a constant state of chaos, it seems, because you're disorganized. I will say this, though, intentional planning gives you unlimited potential. So if disorganization caps your potential, organization takes the cap off of that, because a good, well laid out plan, it can change, but at least you have the core things that are in there that make that plan what it ought to be. And then creativity can take over, right? It can wind up, you can drop little things in there, but you can't put a whole thing together in that millisecond. You can add sprinkles, right? But you can't put the whole sundae together in that amount of time. When you plan and you organize, you're putting a sundae together. You're making sure you have all the flavors and the bananas and all those things, and then you can put the sprinkles on top. The problem is we get so fascinated with the sprinkles, we forget to take care of the core things that need to happen. So if you're organized and you have a plan, you can then add sprinkles to that. Now, I have a way for you to do that. If you say, Paul, I would love to have a way for me to be organized, but I have struggles with that. I have problems with that. Well, let me go ahead and share with you then this is the new My Youth Ministry Playbook that I have. And you can see it. Let me just kind of shift this over here a little bit. It has everything that you're going to need to build a successful youth ministry. It has calendars, it's got forms, it's got worksheets, it's got articles. It is effectively a planner that teaches you how to plan. That's the goal of this book, is to help you, give you some guidance. And this goes through the school year. This is September through January. Now, if you're a January through December guy or girl, then you may want to wait. You can wait till January if you want to, or you can just go ahead and just reformat this, because here's the deal. This comes in in PDF form, so you can put together a binder for yourself. Lay out the pages as you would see fit. Now, I've done some of that for you, because in the whole PDF, I wind up giving you the putting it in some sort of order for you, so you don't have to figure it out. So let me see if I can go ahead and bring that up for you real quick, and I can show you a little bit about how I have laid this thing out. Now, let's go ahead and get out of that. And by the way, like I said, if you have questions, I will answer questions at the end. For each of these 5 things that I think are important, I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions. So be sure to go ahead and leave your questions in the chat over there, and I will take care of that. So let me go ahead and open this up here because I think this is important to show you, obviously, because it's the whole deal. It's the whole package here. So let's go ahead and open up because it's, like I said, really laid out for you. If you're wondering how to organize it, I've organized it for you. It's really, really easy. Okay. And let's see here. Here we go. Pop this open for you. All right. So I've included in this all kinds of things. I'm going to get to some new stuff because if you've bought this before, I'm going to give you some new stuff in here that you can use. Okay. That's going to be really helpful to you. So I'll give you a basic package. I'm not going to go through the entire thing because, well, it would take a little while. It's over 100 pages. I mean, it's over 100 pages worth of stuff. So when you put your little binder together, or you just want to keep it on your laptop or your iPad or whatever you want to put it on, however you choose to do it. But I find that having a binder with me is super easy because I open it up, I crack. In fact, let me just reach right over here. I keep mine handy dandy right here because all I do is take it and then print it off and put all the pages in there as I need it. As you can see, I got tons of notes in there. I mean, I use my own stuff. It's not like, I mean, I did this primarily for me to keep myself organized. So let me go ahead and show you, let's see, the beginning part here, because it starts with the calendar. You get all the calendars. So let me just say we'll start in September here, okay? So in September, you get the September calendar. And it puts down here, you put down your September goals. Now, your September goals may be reach X amount of students, or your September goals is to make sure that my budget is done, or your September goals are, build relationships with so-and-so. And I help you with that because as part of your goals here, I put in there also a monthly to-do. So the monthly to-do gives you, whether you have an event, if you have an event over here, if you have, new students to follow up with, touch base with my pastor about. These are critical things, especially if you're a new youth pastor. You don't know, like you're checking out the whole scene. You don't really know what's kind of going on. And so I try to make sure that I put things in that you should be planning. It's not the end all be all. This is simply a way for you to gauge and say, what do I need to be doing with my time? What do I need to be checking on? How do I set goals for this? And student leaders to invest in. What do my parents need to know? Communication, really critical. And I'm going to say that by the time, by the time the end of the year comes, this is an ongoing thing. This is like a living document, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But here's one thing I put in here was a new youth ministry budget monthly, right? So what is your budget for the month? And this is, once again, it's not meant to be complicated. It's not meant to be, it's not meant to be super like tiny print and it's meant to be, here's kind of the big picture of what my budget is. You see, you got your month, right? September budget you're working with. And may I say this, this is for anybody, whether you have a budget or not. If you have a zero budget, you can still use this because it's what you're asking for. It's not necessarily what you already have in your budget, but if you have a zero budget, you can ask for these things. You can say, look, I have a zero budget, but I want to be able to ask for these things. And like I said, I've operated in a zero budget in just about every church I've had. I've never said, oh, look, your budget is, $40,000 or $100,000 or whatever, like $100,000. Where did I come up with that? I don't know what church that is, but hey, if you got $100,000, you might even need this sheet. I don't know. But I can say this, that, I have it budgeted into the, 5 core, purposes here. Evangelism, discipleship, fellowship, worship, service, and guests. I put guests separately because I think we all need to put a little extra time into our guests and how we budget for them because they're the brand new people showing up to your youth group. And so, if you're doing an evangelism, if you're doing an event, right, but there's an event sheet for that, it doesn't really matter. Let's say you're doing discipleship. Well, I need $20 a week to take kids to Taco Bell, right? So if you need $20 a week for the month, that's going to be $80, right? That's $80 of just food. Now you have supplies. Now maybe the supplies are, that can fall under, I usually put them under worship, because worship is my main night. Worship is I need supplies for that night. It could be supplies for the room. It could be supplies, whatever that is. And you start saying, well, I need picture frames. I'm a big picture frame guy. I love putting pictures on the wall of our students. So let's say I know I'm going to buy 10 picture frames. They're 5x7. They're $40 a piece. $40. They're $4 a piece. It's going to be $40. So for this month, all the pictures, part of my budget as far as worship goes, I need $40 and change. So $45. Let's just say $50. I need $50 just for picture frames every month, because or not every month, but for this month, and then I can rotate pictures out. But having a budget in there is like super critical to be able to put that together. And this is an improvement over the last one. So if you had last year's playbook, then you notice that there's a difference there. I'm a little bit more specific. The other one was kind of general. This gets a little bit more specific. So you have transportation. If you have to rent a van that month, well, put that in there, and then put down all your totals. And I don't know of a pastor who would not want to see this, or an executive pastor, or whoever your boss is, the youth ministry, leader, who would not want to see how you're spending money, because it's critically important that you as a youth pastor understand how money gets spent and what you're willing to ask for. And I will say this, let me be as bold to say this. If you don't have a budget, in other words, you don't have a pool of money that's separated aside, at least for you to say, hey, listen, I need something. If a church is constantly telling you no, then those folks there are asking you to, make bricks without straw. They're saying, look, build a youth ministry, but we're not going to give you any money to do this, or resources. And that's no bueno. That's not a great place to be. So just be aware that if a church is not giving you any money to do anything with, that's not a great place maybe to be. You're just operating on whatever. So then here's your event budget. And I put this down: name of event, date of event, cost per person. Are you charging for the event? Maybe you're not, but maybe you are charging, right? So you're including things like gas. You're including things like, the cost of whatever it is. If you're going bowling, right? All those. Who is your target audience? My target audience for this event is just church kids who can bring a friend. If you're making a huge deal about it, say maybe you're doing a bowling tournament, well, then, that's a bigger thing. So is your target audience small, or is it big? And you have to maybe mark that down, and that's going to help you be able to budget it out. Budget you are working with, right? What is the budget you have, right? Projected number of students, right? This is a hot mess here, right? Projected number of students. And I always went high. I always went, well, we're going to have 50, right? And really like 10 show up. You have to be fair. You have to scale that, okay? You have to be able to scale that. Now you have the amount allotted and then amount you spent. And that's, once again, this is for your review too. You can look at it and say, hey, I've just added, I've just done this thing for the month, and it's there for you to look at to say, how do I get better from month to month? And you can get better from month to month as far as what you're spending. Because if I got called into the office about anything, it was about overspending for things that cost too much, spending too much on t-shirts because I didn't get it, together. I didn't mark it out right. So you have all the things there, budget items for that event, whether that event is a discipleship event, an evangelism event, a Wednesday night program, whatever that is. You're deciding, here's all the items, whether it's prizes, marketing, food, entertainment, supplies, all that kind of stuff. Also, those are two new things. I have some other new things in there as well. And your normal stuff that I have in there is your weekly planner. You can make as many of these per week for the month. So you have 4 weeks in the month or 5 weeks, go and make 5 copies of that and say, I'm going to put that in my book. Then you have the month in review where you say, well, what have I worked on here? What have I done this month? I think review is really, really important. Because if you're not looking how you're doing, if you're not gauging your process, or don't have a process for gauging how you're getting where you're getting, it's tough to do. So, what worked, what didn't, where did I grow, and what do I need to learn? These are notes for you so that you can look at the end of the year and say, okay, here's where I need to get better. Here's where I need to grow. Okay. And those are those are the main core sheets that you're going to have within a segment. And then it goes on from there, because then it goes into October, and then the same sheets are there. So you can see I've built it this way so that you can have, control over a basic system. You don't have to do all the hard work for this, okay? All you have to do is print it off and then take the pages that are in there. And there's all kinds of, there's brainstorming pages, there's worksheets, there's articles, there's all those things in there to help you plan a fantastic year. Now, let's go ahead and move on because I want to get to the other four. The first thing I said is you got to have a plan to plan, okay? Now, the second thing you got to have is you have to have a teaching plan, okay? Now, in this book, I give you a teaching plan. Let me go ahead and show that to you. I give you a teaching plan because here's the deal. With teaching, there's two extremes of people who have a teaching plan. One is, I'm going to let the Spirit lead me every week, and it's whatever that is, right? There's a teaching plan. And then there's the, I have to manage everything like by the minute type of plan, okay? Now, this particular sheet gives you an overview. It just says, look, I know what I'm teaching from month to month. And that could be 3 weeks, that could be 4 weeks, that could be 2 weeks, it could just be 1 week. Whatever that is, you have a teaching plan in place. And then leaving room, I usually like to leave room for for various things that happen in the world. And I'll say, okay, well, there's a space that I have here that I really feel like I need to address this. And it could be anything. It could be something that's happened along the, racial lines. It could be something that's happened, with the war or something like that. And it's really something critical that I really feel like I need to do. So I leave some space in there, to make sure that I have some room to do that. And by the way, too, right below the teaching plan, if you see that there, it is, you can find the youth ministry playbook. You can find that over on gumroad.com/youthmenresources. After the video is over, I'll put all the links down in the description there. And so if you are needing an altogether one type of deal, say, hey, by the way, you know how smart you look carrying this around? I mean, don't carry it on the 2022 in 2023. But if you get the 22-23 version, you're going to be able to say, look at this guy. This girl's walking around, has a plan. They have a plan. You can show them. It's all with you. It carry with you. But let me just tell you, having a teaching plan is critical because you kind of know what your students need. You're planning, right? Because you have, and maybe you use curriculum, maybe you don't. Like I said, maybe you write your own stuff. But one way for me that I found in doing this is when I first started, there wasn't a ton of things, but then suddenly there was this huge, influx of things from youth specialties or group or companies that were, just getting started then. And one way that I found my voice was doing this curriculum, but then I noticed, well, this curriculum isn't really formatted, for my group. So the way I kind of found my voice in ministry and how as far as teaching or speaking or communicating was simply saying, yeah, this doesn't quite jibe with me. So I think starting anywhere with curriculum, and I sell curriculum, and by this, I mean 3 to 4 weeks at a time. It's not like I sell a year-long plan of that. That may come someday. But, when you're looking at it and saying, here's my teaching plan, I find that doing and using curriculum in that way at least helps me find what I don't want or what I don't like. And it helps me figure out my voice to my students. How am I going to teach them? Who are they and how do I figure that out? Not all curriculum fits everybody. It just doesn't. You have to gauge it. But having a teaching plan is important. And this type of plan is included in the book as well. So I just make a big deal about that because I just think, everybody needs to have a teaching plan, and it's a great way to find your voice and to find out what's important to your students and how are you going to get them on the journey of discipleship, which is going to be it's going to be the next point here, actually. And by the way, if you want to go ahead and if you're interested in getting my youth ministry playbook, I want to give you a discount code. It's live stream. It's not live stream save 10%. It's just live stream. So the discount code is live stream, and you're going to get 10% off the my youth ministry playbook. So you can put that in, get it for yourself, and you get a discount. Okay. So just so you know that. Okay. The third plan that I think every youth pastor needs to have is you got to have a discipleship plan. And if you don't have a discipleship plan, well, that's going to be really hard to gauge how you're growing students. Am I right? I mean, you're going to have to figure out how to get students from point A to point B. And I think this is so critical because a lot of youth pastors miss this. They miss this when they're actually building their youth ministry. They don't know how to get students from point A to point B. They don't know what are we looking for? What are we looking for in a disciple, right? It's not just attendance. It can't just be participation, and it can't even be coming to an altar. It has to be something else that you're looking for. It has to be a way to gauge maturity in a believer, okay? And discipleship's not a straight line, okay? Discipleship, listen, I just recently got an invitation to a graduation of a student who was in my youth group 4 years ago, I want to say, or at least the last time I saw him was probably 3 years ago. But he had started in our youth group, and he lives, in our city here. And I wound up seeing him because I was doing a Bible club at his school, and I would see him in the hallway. He didn't come to the Bible club, but I did see him in the hallway, and he stopped me one day and, shook my hand and said, "Hey, thank you for, being here or whatever. I just wanted to say hi and all that." And I was like, cool. But later on, I found out that he worked at the local Dairy Queen. And so I was like, okay, so we'll go to the Dairy Queen. And he was in there, and and at first I couldn't remember. So, oh, I know this. It's him. That's that kid. And so I would purposely go through that drive-thru just so I can connect with him, and just say, "Hey, how are you doing, man? Good to see you." All that kind of good stuff. And once again, I'm invited to this. I was invited to this graduation thing, having, not having the connection with him for the past 4 years. But once again, discipleship's not a straight line. You have to be able to figure out, because these kids aren't when you're discipling, if you're going to stay in it for a while, if you're going to stay in youth ministry for a while, then you have to make disciples. You're not just making disciples for a year or 2 years or 4 years or 6 years. However, these are lifetime opportunities that you have, because they're going to graduate, become young adults, go off to college, all those things. And I try to keep all those relationships open if I can, because you never know when they're going to hit a sticking point. They're going to hit a place in life where the only person they might be able to talk to is you. And so I try to keep those relationships open and keep it well connected on social and other places, because I just feel like once again, I'm not just serving a church, I'm serving the Lord. And in serving the Lord, I have to make sure that those opportunities remain open, because the thing I do for the church can't pay me to do that. Once I'm gone, I'm gone. But I'm under an obligation in my calling and my my passion is to continue to see and develop and see students grow. So having a discipleship plan is really, really important. Now, I also have, just so you know, if you don't have a discipleship plan, let me help you a little bit, okay? Let me offer you this discipleship bundle here, okay? I do have a discipleship bundle. You can go ahead and, once again, if you go to gumroad.com/youth ministry resources, it is up. And it has things like my core book, which is the Disciple Project, turning meanings into a movement. Where you are taking students out and about. It gives you core things like, what's the difference between a youth group and a youth group and a youth ministry? What is the difference, between classroom, education and actually doing the things that disciples did, right? The safety part of that, the safety issue is that, look, we love to stay in a classroom because it's a controlled environment. I'm saying, no, let's go ahead and take students out and do some things. And I'm not talking about the yearly missions trip or the once a year weekend, doing a thing at the homeless shelter. I'm talking about doing things on a Wednesday night where you actually take your students down to the local mini mart, and you're going to say, okay, we're going to bless some people. Maybe we're going to pay for their gas tonight, and we're going to offer to pray for them. Maybe we're going to just go down to the local Subway, and we're going to bring them gifts, because we're a ministry in this area, and we want to make sure that we come here every week to come eat. So we're going to bring the people that work here. There's 4 or 5 people work here. Great. We're going to go down here on Wednesday night. We're going to give them some gifts, share good news with them, and then we're going to go and eat Subway. So those are some of the things, some of the ideas that come in this discipleship bundle. So it's not just my core book, which is the Disciple Project. It's also things like a 5-week series called the Follow 5, right? Follow 5, that's a 5-week series which teaches the core principles of that. It's also Start Again, which is a 5-week series about starting over. Everything's got a beginning point. Evangelism is discipleship, because Jesus told his disciples to go into all the world and preach the gospel. So evangelism, I know people want to separate discipleship and evangelism, but they're the same thing, because they're things that Jesus told his disciples to go do. So when you're doing evangelism, you're doing discipleship. It's the same thing. So if you're interested in that, that's over there in the store too, gumroad.com/youthmenresources. Let's move on to, and once again, this is my way of saying, look, I want to help you develop these plans. That's what the purpose of Disciple Project Ministries is to help you develop plans in your youth ministry that, where you're not getting, where you're constantly frustrated as a youth pastor because you're wondering, what do I do next? Especially if you're a new youth pastor, you're wondering, what do I do next? And all these resources to help you plot and plan a strategy so that you can build a successful youth ministry. And a successful youth ministry isn't just about numbers. Numbers is one way to gauge it. But I believe a successful youth ministry is a youth ministry that's making disciples. Ultimately, that's whether you have a youth ministry of 10, a youth group of 10, or a youth group of 100. And I think youth groups of 10 that are doing discipleship and doing that well eventually grow, right? It goes from 10 to 12 to 15 to 20. And once again, it's not immediate. It's not overnight. It's process. But you've got to have a discipleship plan. And if you're interested in one, I have a discipleship bundle that gives you all that stuff if you are interested. So let's go ahead and jump over to number 4 here. Number 4 is a meeting plan. A meeting plan. So how do you plan your meetings? Okay. How do you make sure that your meetings, you're getting maximum impact from these meetings, right? Because a lot of times, and once again, I'm guilty of it too. It's not like I've perfected. Okay. I just want to say that I've not perfected the meeting. The meeting is the meeting, right? I got to have a meeting every week. I just want to have the best meeting I can have. So how do I do that? Well, I make sure that I look through and say, what is the purpose of this meeting, right? What is the purpose of this meeting? What am I going to do with this? It's also about, the end goal. I start with the end in mind and have a meeting plan. Here's how the meeting is planned. Not everybody meeting's the same. My fall meetings are somewhat different than my summer meetings, right? Now this summer, I am doing a summer-long contest called Summer Showdown. And every week is a different thing. So last week we played volleyball and we got rained out. And so I had to go inside and I had to change my plan. So my meeting, even though I didn't have a meeting structure, I had these meeting blocks of things I wanted to do and it got messed up. One reason, my fault, the rain messed up my plan. Had I remembered to fill out I thought for sure it's not going to rain. We're going to make it through. We're going to get through it. And that was my first mistake. I should know this by now. I should never, say, oh, this is how it's going to work out. I always got to have my plan. And I said to myself, well, I need to make sure I fill out my meeting plan, my meeting form. Had I done that, I would have remembered and said, oh, here's plan B, here's plan C. And instead, I wound up with 20 minutes extra. I shared kind of a short message, which was not at all, I wasn't at all happy with it, but I did it and it was there. So, but had I done that, I'd have been in much better shape. That's why, and when I talk about the sheet here, I'm talking about this thing here. It's called My Meeting Playbook. And the meeting playbook is 52 sheets of a plan, right? It has everything in there. Everything that I want in a meeting is in this book, okay? Which you can find, by the way, at gumroad.com/youthmenresources. Everything in there that's on that sheet. And I discovered, by the way, I have a smaller youth ministry. So not everything every week applies to everything. the sheet is there not because you have to fill in every little piece and part. It's there in case you need to, in case you grow. If you don't have any student leaders right now, but on the sheet it says, hey, student leaders do this, right? Adult volunteers are in charge of this. Worship songs. You may not have a worship band, but it's okay because worship may be this. My core text is this. All that is in there. Plus, you're getting articles on how to have effective meetings. You're getting the meeting, right? You're getting forms. You're getting all those things in there to say, how do I have a plan for my meetings? And once again, you may know how to run a meeting. There's a lot of youth pastors, especially new youth pastors, who don't know how to run a meeting. Or you're a volunteer and you say, well, I don't really know how to do this thing. What am I trying to do? Well, my youth meeting playbook is all about helping you design a youth meeting that's going to give you maximum impact. Okay. Remember, a disorganized youth meeting has zero chance. A disorganized youth ministry and a disorganized youth meeting has really zero chance of success because it's hit, it's miss. I don't know where I'm going with this. And the book gives you the process by which to work through that. That's the whole goal, is to give tools to youth pastors. What I want to do, I want to help youth workers, whether they're brand new or they've been in it for a while. I want to help them organize so they can build a successful youth ministry, whatever that word success means to them, right? I built it with discipleship in mind. I hope that's everybody else's as well. And once again, this is designed to help you to be able to do that. All right, we're wrapping up on time here. I want to give you just one more. This is number 4. Number 5 is this, and that is a growth plan. A growth plan. Now, a growth plan, I'm not talking about growth plans for students. The discipleship takes care of that. Curriculum takes care of that. All those things, the resources that I just mentioned. Here's the deal, though. What is your growth plan for growing you? What is your growth plan for your life, for helping you with your family, or how do I get better at this, or how do I deal with my emotions, or how do I deal with what's my growth plan in my church when nobody's helping me to grow, nobody's mentoring me, nobody's coaching me, nobody's helping me. I'm on my own here. I've heard that over and over again. And I've heard a lot. There's a lot of church, you may be in a toxic church. Thankfully, I'm not. I'm in a great church where I have coffee and conversation with my pastor every week. And it's fantastic. I love it. And we sit, we talk, and that's my growth plan, is sitting and having conversations with my pastor or other adults in the church to help me grow. Okay. So I want to make sure that you know that if you are needing a plan, I have something called My Monthly Mentor. My Monthly Mentor meets on the third Tuesday every month from 11 to 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. And it is for the cost of a streaming service, basically. So every month we get together, and when you download this, you can find it, by the way, over at gumroad.com/youthmenresources. You will find My Monthly Mentor there. And in that, there are 6 questions I ask every week. In fact, this coming Tuesday is a free week. It is out there. If say, Paul, I need that. I want to join that thing. I want to come in just for a free session, just to see what it's about, ask questions and listen. Maybe you just want to be a fly on the wall. Okay. But anyway, this coaching, I believe, should be a part of every youth work. Now, whether you choose to be in my program or another program, or you just want to sit with your pastor or an elder in the church, you got to have a growth plan, because you're going to change. I have changed in youth ministry over the years, and this is 30 years in, over 30 years now. 30 years in, I'm changing. And so I have to change my growth plan according to where I'm at. And you have to do the same thing, because you're not going to be 24 forever, or 30 forever, or 35 forever. But yet you still feel like called to youth ministry to be a part of this. And so in doing that, my encouragement is find something that you do monthly where you can vent, where you can listen, where you can learn. And yes, there's podcasts, there's articles, there's all those things. But I don't think those things should take the place of real conversation, talking with a person who cares about my youth ministry and wants to help me solve problems in it, or help me work through a situation that I'm going through. And you can do that in community. That's the whole point of doing My Monthly Mentor is allowing people to come in and saying, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to find some solutions on a month. I want to be able to go somewhere where I can be heard. And a lot of people just aren't heard. They don't feel like their voice is heard. And that's what this is about. So if you are interested in this, the easy way to get to jump in this, yes, you can go ahead and buy the package right there at gumroad.com/youthmenresources. That's the easy way. Jump in. And once again, your first month's free anyway. So if you want to jump in for this Tuesday coming up, it's the 21st. So it's a week from this Tuesday. Sorry, it's not this Tuesday. It's a week from this. It's the 21st. And it's from 11 to 12. So if you're interested in that, but you got to have a growth plan because you're going to change. Your youth ministry is going to change. Your spiritual life and your emotional life, all those things combined, you got to have a growth plan. Yes, read your Bible. Yes, pray. Yes, be in service. Yes, do things that are going to grow your life, right? Not just your spiritual life, but your family life, all the parts. And so keep that in mind. That when you're young, sometimes you don't figure out your growth plan. You're young, you're like, oh, I'll just take it as it comes. You got to have a little bit of a growth plan. You don't have to, you're going to experiment a lot, and that's fine too. But just remember, you're not always going to be 22 or 24 or 26 or 30. You're going to get married. You're going to have children. Life is going to change, and your growth plan somewhat changes as well. Now, there's several ways to get all of this. I hope you guys enjoyed it, by the way. Leave a comment down below with your questions, comments. What do you think about these resources? What do you think about having these plans? Do you have a plan? Do you need a plan for any of these things that we talked about? Go ahead and leave some comments down below because I would love to hear your comments about what we talked about today. And once again, it's my passion. It's my heart. It's I love youth workers. I love youth pastors. I love youth ministry. I love Jesus more than all of that. But I am totally on team youth ministry because I want to help you guys. I want to help you become everything you want to be, everything God's put into your heart. But sometimes we don't know how to get it out into the world. We don't know how to do that. That's why we need things like coaching. That's why we need playbooks. That's why we need, all these things to help us. We need the tools to help us do the work that God's asked us to do. And I've tried to make it as simple as possible. So now let me give you a couple of little things last here as we wrap up. You can there's two ways to do this. There's this here, which is everything a new youth pastor needs. Everything I just talked about comes as a part of this. Now, you get one coaching session. That's 1 hour coaching session for this new youth pastor bundle. You can find that gumroad.com/youthmenresources. You can find that there. And what you can do is you get everything you're going to need. You get 37 weeks. By the way, when I talk about curriculum, I'm giving you 37 weeks of curriculum. 37 weeks you fill. Okay. It's not a whole year because I wanted to give you some space to kind of develop on your own, find your own voice. But there's 37 weeks of lessons, right? You don't have to, you can use as much or as little of that as you want. You get the 1 hour coaching session. You get my youth ministry playbook, which is all the calendars and all that. You get the my youth meeting playbook, right? You can get all that. And all of that is there at gumroad.com/youthmenresources. So if you're a new youth pastor, I've got you set. I've got you all hooked up and ready to go. This is what you need. But I would say that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is I'm starting something called Youth Ministry Monthly. And Youth Ministry Monthly is basically like a living document. So when this is a part of, this is going to be updated. It's not going to be updated a ton because I like to update it year to year. And eventually this may be the only way you get it is through Youth Ministry Monthly. And through Youth Ministry Monthly, you're going to get whatever lessons I've created. You're going to get, a 3-week lesson, a 4-week lesson, something like that. You're going to get access to my monthly mentor. That's automatic. That's paid. You're gonna get that every month. You're going to get, the playbooks. You're going to get graphics. It could be something that happens in the world and I say, oh, I really feel like I need to do that. Well, okay, I'm going to type that up, write it up, and send it to you guys and put it in the file here. You have, when you buy it, you're just like, okay, this is your yearly. It's a yearly fee that you pay from year to year, but you always have access to those things, right? So if you lose it, your computer crashes, all those files are going to be in there. So if you lose it or whatever, and you're a youth ministry monthly member, then you're going to get that stuff every time that it's already there, and you can go ahead and grab it. So those are the two ways that you can grab these things. You can get it through the new Youth Pastor bundle, but it's not that bundle is not updated. It's not going to be updated on a monthly basis. But the youth ministry monthly will be. And the first one, I mean, there's already resources in youth ministry monthly. You're already going to get some core stuff. And then your updates probably going to happen July, so forth and so on, as we go along. And I'm just going to start dropping things in there. And once again, I move on the fly. I have the freedom to move on the fly and be able to say, oh, that's interesting. Maybe it's something in the news. Maybe it's something in culture. And I want to type up a real quick lesson that is fitting for the moment, right? And say, okay, maybe a youth worker needs or wants to address that this week. You're just going to get a ton of stuff. I don't know what else to tell you. This is good stuff that you can have for your youth ministry. Don't forget, right here, gumroad.com/youthmenresources. Check it out. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and being a part of the live stream today. If this is something of interest to you, leave me comments. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you're involved in and what you're using, and and maybe how I can help you in the future. So leave your questions down there below as well. All right, so that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for being a part today. Thank you for being. I hope you have all these plans in place. If you don't, you don't have to use me, but you need these plans. That's what's going to make effective, your youth ministry more effective. So take those in mind. Take what I've said with a grain of salt. Use what you can. As they say, use the meat and throw away the bones. Whatever you got today, hey, I'm glad you did. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching, being a part. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel and you just came by, be sure to click the subscribe button, because, hey, I'm going to do more live streams. I'm going to talk about more things that I think are important to youth ministry, that are important to youth workers, that it's important to teenagers. And so if you want information like that, well then, hey, that's what we're here for. That's why I'm here, to be able to serve you and to do live videos like this. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and enjoy your weekend, guys. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll talk to you later.